Mackenzie?
It is 5:34. I'd like to call to order this Planning and Zoning Commission workshop with Simple City at Bandera City Hall, 511 Main Street, Bandera, Texas, Wednesday, August 18th, 2021.
Right. Well, good evening, Commission. My name is Matt Lewis with Simple City Design, and with me today is Linda Humble, also with Simple City Design. And we're here to talk about the process that we've been working on for you all for quite some time now. We're writing your comprehensive master plan and a coded comp plan with your development standards. This is Daniel Burnham. He says, to love one city and to have part in its advancement and improvement is the highest privilege and duty of a citizen. We believe that that is wholeheartedly true, and the decisions that we make on a daily basis within cities are what govern the way that we look, feel, and function going into the future. And that it is our job to ensure that these places build out in a lovely, timeless manner, as you all have done for the last 180 some odd years. So once the plan starts, and what is the Planning and Zoning Commission's role? This is straight from the Texas Local Government Code, Chapter 212, where the establishment of the Planning and Zoning Commissions get done. And it says a Planning Commission, or some cities call them a City Plan Commission, is a group of citizens appointed by the legislative body, be it the City Council, that performs both required and discretionary functions in regards to land use matters, how the land is used, where land uses go, how buildings fit, where preservation happens, where the floodplains fall, where all of the elements that fit together to build communities is at the discretion and the responsibility of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission should have a high-level involvement in terms of review and comment during the development of the comprehensive master plan of the plan, and should ultimately recommend its adoption to the City Council prior. And so you all, it'll come to you all, this will be a set of development standards in the comprehensive master plan that you'll be able to review, have say, read the document before recommendations to the City Council. So what we wanted to do is just talk to you all about comp plans and the power of comp plans and what they mean. This is one of the most important documents that governs how cities allocate their dollars, where they allocate their population, how they're going to grow, where they're going to grow, if they want to grow, if they don't want to grow, what does it look like, limited growth. And we have mapped out a path for you all based on what we are hearing. So,
Let's get the introductions.
oh, did I really? I'm so sorry. The slide got.
Yes.
Let me let Linda talk for a little while.
Yeah.
We were supposed to introduce ourselves here.
How about y'all introduce yourselves to us? Let's
Okay.
before we jump in and get married. How about we date a minute?
Sorry.
Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
You go first.
I'm Jared Wilcox, retired Marine. Moved to Bandera, it'll be 3 years ago in November. I currently own 4A Plaques and Custom Engraving and Dapper J's Boot Repair.
Awesome.
Yeah, I've been on P&Z for a year and a half now. I'm also president of the EDC.
Awesome.
So.
Miss Patricia, we know and love you.
I know, so I'll just say, you know me as the mouth.
Yes.
That's okay.
Yes. And you, Leah?
Leah
Seriously,
would be the
they
tongue.
know me. I've spoken so
Okay.
many times.
I don't know how long I've been on PNC. I don't know. It's been
28
several years.
years?
No, underwater. I own a business here in town, and I've lived in Bandera for this time. I've lived here 12 years.
Awesome. Well, I'm Linda Humble. For those of you that I've not had the privilege of meeting, I am very passionate about local government. I've been doing this about 30 years. I started out as a part-time receptionist and worked my way up to city manager. I now do consulting. One of the things that kind of is my passion is for years, if it was broke, give it to Linda, she'll fix it. So I have a unique understanding about how the systems of cities work. And so I want to start us off tonight with a story, because I want to challenge your thinking. I grew up in Monroe, Louisiana. And as you came into Monroe off of I-20, you would go down 5th Street. And there was an article by one of the ladies that wrote for the New Star World, and one Sunday she published an article about the blue toilet at 5th and Pine. Blue toilet? What blue toilet? Well, at the corner of 5th and Pine, somebody had built outdoor storage facilities. And because Louisiana is sportsman's paradise, they envisioned people would put their boats and their RVs. Well, what it ended up being was a dump ground for contractors.
Oh, okay.
And so when you sit at the light at 5th and Pine and you look at the outdoor storage, there's set an old blue toilet. Well, it was the entrance to Monroe.
Oh.
But as visitors, or as locals, we long since quit seeing the blue toilet at 5th and Pine. So the article comes out in the Sunday paper, and literally everybody in town rode down 5th Street, stopped at the light, and looked over and said, oh, yeah, there's that blue toilet. Who knew? And that's really the point of tonight, is we're not here to teach you planning and zoning. We're not here to teach you comprehensive plans or development standards. But we are here to challenge how you see them and how you use them. One of the things that has been very interesting about this journey that we've taken with y'all is y'all have challenged our paradigm. You've made us think. Our background and our history came predominantly from communities that were growing exponentially and wanted to grow. Y'all have been abundantly clear that you're not interested in growing, and there ain't nothing broke here in Bandera. You have helped us understand the natural setting. And so we're going to talk to you tonight about the tools that you have at your disposal as commissioners. Because whether you want to grow or not, your growth is nipping out there at the ETJ. And so our goal with this comp plan and with these development standards is help you to preserve what you love about this community. Y'all have been very clear. It's been very interesting because I appreciate you're a 50-50 community, but there's some things y'all are 100% united behind. And that is the things that make Bandera Bandera. So we're going to go through those tonight. And the point of that analogy is this. The policies and regulations that you have currently have just sat on the shelf. Your comp plan, while we think it's wonderful, it's brain damage to read it. It's 184 pages. It's hard. You got to piece the puzzles together and tape them together. And when you do that, boy, it makes sense, but most people aren't. Your development standards essentially code out the things that you like. So they've been used not effectively, and in some instances, you've worked hard to not use them at all. So we're challenging the paradigm tonight. And I'm going to great length to help you understand what we're bringing you is none of that. We've listened and we've heard you. So it's important for you to understand the power that you have as a planning and zoning commission, and it's important for you to understand the tools the legislature gives you to offer recommendations to council. And so we're going to now go back through what you already know, but challenge how you view it and how you use it, because it's critical in your future. The state law, as we go into that comp plan, says that if you have zoning, you have to have a comp plan. What the law says is that your zoning can't be in conflict with your comp plan. So it's really important that that comp plan be what you want it to be. Because if your zoning is ever in conflict with your comp plan, you got to amend your comp plan, because they have to be in harmony. And so we hope that when we get through and we deliver this to council, we deliver this to the community, that y'all think we've done a good job. And then the question becomes, why would you ever want to amend it? And that's where, as a council and a commission, we're going to challenge you that your developers are going to come in and they're going to ask for changes. That's just what they do. But no is always an acceptable answer if we got it right. So tonight, again, we're here to not teach, but to challenge. So as we go through this, I hope you think, never thought about using it that way. Oh, that's what that was intended. And engage with us, because moving forward in the next 5 to 10 years over the life of this comp plan, it will be really important. And you'll have to pull it out, look at it, and go, oh, that doesn't match. And you know what? We ain't interested in fixing it. So Mr. Developer, read it. We've been real clear on what we want. So that's kind of the parameters of the conversation we want to have with you this evening.
Absolutely. Okay. Thanks for setting it up. So, comprehensive master plans. They are your toolkit. It is your toolkit you use to govern how land use works. Your budget allocation, where you build infrastructure. Usually these things will all be in an alignment so that as you're planning for your future, both redevelopment, future development, maintaining what you have, and keeping what makes Bandera Bandera, this is your plan that would allow you to do that. It provides you the vision and purpose as a roadmap so that you know where you're going. It allows the community to take ownership of its future. This is a powerful tool, and when the community understands what this is about and why they can use it and how to use it, it helps them get engaged, and civic pride gets reinstalled back into our communities. There is so much pride already in Bandera. I often say that this has got to be the county that, this county sees this city as the place that represents them. And it's because of that strong pride that you all have maintained what you have so well without the toolkit to actually use it. So we're hopeful that with this alignment, the toolkit becomes very easy for this community ownership to take place. Properly allocate the budget to project goals. We're going to be outlining project goals in your comp plan that will allow you to set the expenditures, figure out where the priorities lie, and so that if there's a little bit of resources, they go in a little bit of place, and so that everyone's pulling the same direction as we go forward. It also provides predictability for development or non-development areas. It tells people where things go, how they look, how they function, and how to utilize it. This was one example from San Marcos, Texas, during the comprehensive master plan process there. The community didn't like the development patterns that were taking place. The road designs weren't working for them. This was a TxDOT roadway. TxDOT put these sticks out there as delineators to try and keep people from turning. It was car crashes here often. The community had a different vision. They wanted this to be their urban center. It's near the college campus, and so they wanted to make it to where people weren't commuting into town, and they wanted to grow this area. When you go to this area today, it looks like the bottom pictures. This was back in 2011, so 11 years ago, the environment looked like the top, and today the center off on the right hand side is completely rebuilt to the vision that they had set and forth so that the community could accomplish their vision. They wanted to start to redo the roadways that promoted a better looking environment. They wanted the buildings to be brought up into the street so that you start to get a line of definition. You'll recognize you all have this in Main Street now in several places, and where it happens and unfolds is very clearly defined. They had another highway that was coming through that they didn't want just to be a large corridor that just didn't have development along it. They were going to be putting investments into this infrastructure, and they wanted it to yield back the return on investment that they were putting in. So they designed a street that was a throughput for the cars going to and through San Marcos, and they created slip lanes off to the side for the local traffic so that there's slow-moving car places and there's parking, and then the buildings would come up to the road, so it actually created a really nice type of environment. And what they're doing is they're challenging themselves to make plans for future long-term investments. This road is now in the design phase, and so they are hopeful that the developments along this road will achieve the designs that they had aspired to become. The comprehensive, let me go back real quick. These comprehensive master plans are used in the way that the community aspires to use them. We have to localize them to the individual communities. We have built your comp plan. We're going to get into a little bit more specifically about everything that we heard. We studied your old comp plan and integrated those elements back into it as well so that it's Bandera. And as the council saw the importance of this plan, they decided to go ahead and code the comp plan. They didn't want this plan going and getting put in, on a shelf again and then having policies that didn't align with the actual goals of the community. So in this process, we're in the process of writing the development standards as well to emulate the patterns of Bandera. This includes the zoning ordinance, the subdivision ordinance, and then design standards. Your development codes govern everything you see going vertical in your community. They either meet your minimum standards or they're not getting built. They should be following those rules. They create either orderly or chaotic patterns based on the way that the tools are being used and the way that they're written. They facilitate new and redevelopment, so everything that's getting redeveloped will be followed under those tools. And they must be localized or they'll create Anywhere America and not Bandera. That is a fundamental component. This is a photo from Hutto, Texas, but it could be Bandera. Your subdivision standards for residential developments call for 25-foot front yards, 25-foot side yards, 35-foot rear yards on an 8,000 square foot lot. That's that. So when a development plat gets submitted and they come to Keeley and they say, we've got a plat here and it's near ETJ and we bought 900 acres and we've got 4,500, 8,000 square foot lots and you get this, it could be problematic. It would forever change Bandera.
And I will just share with you, this picture haunts us, and literally we have spent hours working to ensure this is not what is built in Bandera. Because if you're not careful, that is exactly what you get.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it doesn't scare you, it should.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this is Bandera. This is what we know as Bandera. And it's the ability to have a little bit of land, build a little bit of building, and every building facade's different. Setbacks vary. Some buildings are right against the street, some move back. And so writing these standards and tools and providing these tools, this is what types of toolkit we're recommending that Bandera use, and we believe is extremely important in preserving what you have, rather than just standard arbitrary rules that are not leading you to the outcomes that you're seeking. And so this is extremely important that your development tools and your comp plan, which is basically your laws, match up so that when the developers do come to town and they show you something different, you can say, no, but here is what we have, and this is what you can go build, and here's how it fits in our town, and this is where it goes in our town, and if you like this, then we welcome you to town. All of these standards were written to protect your natural setting. It was one of the #1 things we heard, to keep Bandera. It was built off of the standards that are present in your town today, and furthermore, it had to integrate the cultural aspects that make Bandera Bandera. And so everything was written around these elements to solidify what we are doing. This is another example in San Marcos. This is a downtown San Marcos in 2009. The buildings are boarded up. The street is a 3-line fast road. The city manager wanted to know why their downtown was desolate when they've got a 35,000 student population directly next to them, a crystal clear river, and they couldn't figure out what was going on. They basically, when they hired me to study it, I would go and talk to shop owners, just walk the streets and really study what was happening. What we found is that they made their own town illegal through their development standards. No one could redevelop. They couldn't hit their parking requirements, the stormwater management requirements. The buildings didn't meet their setback requirements. And so it was so much brain damage that no one would be willing to do anything. They would get some remodels and those types of things, but even then the marshal's office was utilizing a stick approach that was so overly costly that the market couldn't do it. So all we did was come back in and put the right tools in place. Before we did this, we created a tax increment district that would capture this value that was going to be created. But within a 5-year time period, the environment now looks like this. Wow. This is straight from Google Earth. You can go onto Google Earth and go to San Marcos in 2009 and to 2000. This was done in 2012. It's a 2012 image.
The important thing is it didn't change.
Yeah.
The place stayed the same. The only thing that changed between the pictures is the vibrancy.
Mm-hmm.
There's that parking I want.
You
Yeah.
do.
Oh, I don't want that.
Oh, well, we're not recommending that, but
I love it.
I don't.
It does work.
it does work.
Yeah. And what this was about was they were using their plan to create what they wanted. They told developers no. CVS came to town, they said, well, if you're building a CVS downtown, it's going to be 2 stories. And CVS said, well, we're going to call the mayor. And they said, well, go ahead and call the mayor. And the mayor said, well, you can build a 2-story CVS because we need it downtown and we love it to be downtown. But they put a provision in their town that all buildings in downtown had to be a minimum of 2 stories. We are not recommending that for Bandera, but that was what that community sought as appropriate because all of their buildings were 2-story style structures, and so that was what they were aspiring to become. So this, oh, go ahead, Lynn, I'm sorry.
So, where'd the blueprint go to plant?
It's after this, after the DNA.
Okay.
So in order to make sure Bandera is Bandera, when we first got here, we did a DNA analysis. We walked the streets, studied the patterns, and it's these components that made Bandera Bandera, and it helped inform the plan going forward. It's this perfect short block grid tucked in the arms of the Medina River. It's that the buildings respect the street. They vary. They communicate what they are. A church looks like a church and it says it's a church. A school looks like a school, it says it's a school. A house looks like a house, says it's a house. And then you also have these house-form commercial structures that say I'm a house-form commercial, and it represents itself well. Civic buildings say that they're civic functions. Those are real key elements that make Bandera Bandera, and you've sprinkled them throughout your towns so that everyone has access to places to worship, places to civic space, access to nature. That is fundamental Bandera, and that is what makes it timeless. You've got timeless building types and architecture used in a defining manner. In the state of Texas, you can't define architecture in building types, but what we can do is have frontage standards that actually emulate what you've got. And so we've come in and we extracted all of the numerical values that make up these buildings and written them into standards for you all. And so they are going to be standards that you can point to a building on the ground and say, well, that's this. So it does exist. And we've studied the smallest and the largest lots throughout your entire area. We understand every single element. Biggest setbacks, shortest setbacks. Smallest buildings, largest buildings. Every single component to the push and pull, to the trade-offs we've evaluated so that as this goes forward, we can link it back to this is Bandera. And it will further perpetuate the pride that you have that's hard to miss. This leads us to your comprehensive master plan, Bandera 2040, True to Your Roots. It is a 21st century integrated comprehensive plan with development policies that support it. Here you go, Linda. This is going to be the slide.
So, one of the things that is really interesting.
It's pulling up. It's a large slide.
Oh, okay. Green print, blueprint. One of the things that's really important is for us to challenge how you view your comp plan. And I'm going to tell you that this process challenged us. As I've said, I've been doing this 30 years. I've read a lot of comp plans, But I didn't quite understand the connectivity of all of the pieces in the comp plan. So when we sat in a meeting and heard time and time again about protecting the natural setting, that when you drive around Bandera, nothing about Bandera looks standard. There's no track here. And that's what makes Bandera Bandera. And so how do you preserve that eclecticness? We call it eclectic nonconformist, because that's really what y'all are. And if you're going to come to Bandera, you better be eclectic nonconformist, or you're not going to live here long. And so we had to go through and really capture all of that. So let's talk about the green print, the natural setting. You know, one of the things that we went back to and looked at was the settlers that came in and nestled Bandera into that peninsula. It's interesting because your town grid was laid out when the sawmill was here making shingles. The town was platted at that time. We talked to the court clerk. You've only had 7 replats in 100 and some odd years. We were gobsmacked, let me just tell you. Never worked in a town where that's the case. So your green print really, truly does define your community. And what Matt's going to do here shortly is kind of unfold for you the development that happened in the 1800s. And they had to build from a common sense perspective. They just built on the high side of every lot. Drainage wasn't a problem for them because they knew it flooded. Drainage only became a problem for this community as you evolved down Main Street and started building for the automobile. And when we put concrete on every inch of space to accommodate the automobile, you started flooding. So when you read the green print, I really want you to read it from the perspective of all of the elements that make Bandera Bandera. the natural setting you want to preserve, that you've told us to preserve, we've gone in and dissected all of it. And it's a beautiful story. And it really caused us to compartmentalize things a little differently. Because again, we've gone into communities that were high growth, wanted to grow, and so it was all about infrastructure. Y'all ain't interested in the infrastructure. You know, so you've challenged our paradigm. And in order for us to be good at what we do, we have to hear you. So the green print really is phenomenally important in your comp plan. And we will share this with council tomorrow. We're going to share it with the community. This will be a unique comp plan in the sense it's going to read and it's very illustrative. And it is intended to be short, succinct, to help you understand what makes Bandera Bandera. When somebody comes in and says you want to protect the natural setting, well, just what does that mean? Oh, well, we can tell you. You get that book out and just turn the page. Because we've gone back and it is quintessential Bandera. So you start with the green print, and we spend a lot of time looking at that, and then it evolves to the blueprint. It's literally the layers of the earth and then what goes vertical. And your town has a very interesting pattern. And so part of what we're going to be doing tomorrow with council is unveiling how to view Bandera differently. And we're going to be introducing the concept of character districts, because there's a lot of character in your community. But it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, and in some instances, I think y'all have tried to regulate that, and it didn't work. And so you've had a lot of conflict in your meetings, and you couldn't get harmony because you were trying to make this end of Main Street look like that end of Main Street, and it just doesn't work. So we studied the blueprint and came to understand, you know, as your town evolved, how it kind of evolved, and we tell you the parts of town that you don't like. And you don't like it because it quit being about the human and it started about being the car. So what we are going to be doing in your comp plan and your development standards is putting you back in the plan. We're humanizing it. And we're making it about the eclectic, nonconformist individuals that live here and make Bandera Bandera. So this is important for you to understand, because he's now going to unfold your community. And we're now to the blue toilet analogy. We're going to show you Bandera in a way that you haven't seen Bandera because you've sensitized to it. So from an outside perspective coming in, we're going to reintroduce you to your community through this process. Not just tonight, but tomorrow night. We're going to have a community meeting with you on the 2nd of September. And we're going to reintroduce to you Bandera, because when developers come in and you tell them they got to keep Bandera Bandera, I use the analogy of Christmas. Everybody has a definition of Christmas and they're right, but everybody's definition of Christmas is different. So what we've tried to do is quantify it, so when you tell the developer, you need to keep Bandera Bandera, and they go, what does that mean? Oh, well, let's just turn to this page because we can tell you. And here's your book, go home and read it. And if you want to build here, here it is. If you don't, okay, it's all right. No is always an acceptable answer. So the green print to blueprint is phenomenally important when you come to understand that we listened and we heard you. It's your natural setting, and it's what makes Bandera Bandera.
And the green print is the geography of Bandera. And so this is our starting point when we began our analysis. And we all sat around and we studied this map and we looked at this map. As we're doing this plan, we're building your GIS, or your Geographic Information System, for you all as well. And so we'll turn that over to the city with all the shape files, so that when they get GIS, all of these, your plan will be in Geographic Information System. So as changes happen, it's one of the most powerful tools that you can use. And so that's what this was created in. These are your topographies, and you can see where the grid is. You can see where the original Bandera sat in there. And the settlers somehow were way ahead of their time. They did a lot of work to establish where the blueprint would fit over this green print. We looked at soil conditions. We looked at topography, existing development, roadways, habitat, flora, fauna. We looked at the animal creatures, everything, to just do an analysis of what we were going to be working with. We then turned on the floodplains and started to model those. And you can see where there's watersheds, where hills form. You can see where hills are. You can see where there's low areas. These are extremely important even for incremental, let's say that no development happens. You know, we challenge ourselves, push and pull. Let's say no development happens. We would go back and say, what happens? Well, development could happen in these small backyards maybe. Maybe someone adds on. Maybe there's vacant lots, which there is a lot of vacant lots around town that has opportunity to be developed. What does it look like? How does it fit? What makes it Bandera? And so those are the pieces we had to really get into in order to understand this. You'll notice your grid overlaid onto the floodplains, and then the little yellow dots are all your buildings. And so we digitized every building in town. We sat and studied and measured every building and built it into a database so we understand where all the buildings sit, where the contour lines are, where the steep slopes are, floodplains, where water flows outside of these districts. We've walked the streets with your council members, with your community, had conversations with your communities to understand how this works going forward. These blocks are 335 feet with 55 feet of right-of-way in between the streets. That 335-foot pattern is what makes Bandera so perfect. They built it on this wonderful grid, respecting all of the topography and building with it. When you start looking at the placement of the buildings, they always stayed on the high side of the topography, of the contour lines, if you will. They lined them because they understood where those ridges were. Even back in the 1800s, they could see this. We lost our way and we started just scraping the land because we think engineers will solve for the issues. And then we tear all the trees down, remove the environment, and then name the streets after what we removed. And that is not Bandera. It would be absolutely detrimental to have that anywhere near Bandera or within your extraterritorial jurisdiction. So I'm going to take you now and get the floodplain out of your topo and just take you to your city. Here's your city from the aerial view looking down, and you can see the Tractor Supply building out there on the gateway, and then you have your other entrances where 173 comes in and 16 goes out. The cluster of buildings in the downtown core area, you'll notice they're all brought right up to the street edge. You can see where that happens, where that pattern was the way that they built. You'll see in the residential areas, they vary on the lots. The house size varies, the lot size varies, and the placement of the house on the lot varies. That is really important. So when we're writing the standards, we too are capturing those elements so that people can vary their lots on their house. A 25-foot setback is a standard setback, doesn't make any sense in Bandera. You don't have many houses that are at that anyways. So
What is interesting when you study the houses, back when this community was making shingles, the way that they kept their workforce is they gave them a lot. And so every individual built the house that met their needs, their family needs. So if you didn't have a small family, you didn't build a big house. And so it's really interesting, the eclectic nonconformist was really your trademark from birth. And you see that as the town evolves, as he's talking about. It's really fascinating to see how the town eventually evolved out. And those elements are very important, and that's what we've coded back in.
And furthermore, the interesting thing is the patterns that the settlers originally founded, set up here, have not been wavered from until you started this new development outward. Everyone stayed within these patterns and utilized the town lots. The town lots was a big finding for us. I did not anticipate that. We were thinking that these were these blocks were created by the law of the West Indies, which went from farm lots. Farm lots were 720 feet by 720 feet. Then those farm lot would get broken into 4 building blocks. And the building blocks would be 335 by 335, and then you'd have your right-of-ways. That was not how Bandera built. They used town lots that they designated, and they platted this entire community into town lots with a focus on Main Street, with a buffer of commercial or house, form commercial or workforce housing in and around those districts. And to us, it was so logical. And so what we needed to do is go back and extract those key standards. When they created this, they didn't have development standards. They did what was logical, what their neighbor did. And there was predictability and partnership, and they worked through it, and that's how the town built out in that manner. And then when zoning and subdivision became prevalent and everyone was doing it, everyone just started adopting random standards that someone had written, and it was fully arbitrary, and it wasn't matching what you were who you are. That's how we got here, actually. Y'all brought us in because y'all didn't like that Tractor Supply was breaking y'all's blocks. That one development is larger than most a full city block. And so that scalability is really critical. And what we understand is as the environment shifted from the river to North Main, you can unfold the decades of development. I can see when the 50s happened, in the 60s, and then the 70s, into the 80s, to the 90s, and up into the 2000s. And the patterns are created based off of the codes and the standards that you had at the time. We're inviting you all to come back to where you originated from with a set of tools that would allow for Bandera to be unchanged and preserve these key characteristics of Bandera. There is a lot of area in and around Bandera as you enter that could change Bandera. Across the street from where the Fat Boy Sandwich Shop, that little strip center is, right now are grazing cows. And we recognize that. We're being really mindful of how we can protect these gateways and make sure that the entry features into town reflect Bandera now and into the future as those areas receive pressure.
And the reason that that's so important is we appreciate you don't want to grow. But when you're a pro-property right community, and we are as a state, you really can't dictate whether or not somebody develops on their property. But you can guide that development. So we've spent a lot of time dreaming big, beautiful, and then when we think we've got that nailed, we flip the switch and go to the dark side, as I call it. What's the worst thing that could happen to you? And then we argue about, oh, that can't happen, and what does that look like? So we are very mindful of what you as a community wants, but we also have to overlay a market reality of what could be here. And so that's going to be the challenge. And that is development's going to happen. There's a tract of land owned by HEB, maybe they build a store here, maybe they don't. Maybe they sell it to somebody, maybe they don't. But that's a huge tract of land that could fundamentally change the way your community is viewed based on where it is in your community. We've spent a lot of time worrying about what will happen on that HEB property. So part of our reason tonight for talking to you and challenging you and causing you to rethink the comprehensive plan and the development tools is that developer very likely will not build to your code. And the reason for that is it doesn't meet their standard. You are eclectic nonconformists. That's beautiful because y'all don't want national chains. So the first people that are going to be in here knocking on your door saying, but, are going to be your national chains. And it's phenomenally important that you understand the power of this tool, the power of what the community has been abundantly clear they want, so that when that developer sits down, it's not, we don't want you, but you're not building that. If you come to Bandera, this is what we want. And it'll be your flagship because it's going to be so phenomenal. Every other community in the world is going to want what gets built here.
And you're going to know exactly how you got it because the standards that came in place are written in clarity, and it's going to map them a direct path on how to deliver exactly what is Bandera. And that was the goal of the toolkit that we're creating for you all, is that it is clear, predictable, and it is, as she was stating, pro-property rights. We gave ultimate flexibility with ultimate predictability, and that would be the way that the code and elements fit together. P&Z's role. Y'all's role in this is to oversee the comp plan, to make sure that it comes to life, and make sure that it's coming to life as the community envisioned it. Your oversight needs to make sure that as changes happen, the plan gets updated. As things are working, those things are celebrated and documented. As things conflict, those things too are documented and modified and into a report. Oftentimes we say that under the duties, we often recommend that you all have an annual work plan that would actually allow for you all to oversee these items. And so you would have a work plan that maybe you select one project out of it that the commission is really focused on getting accomplished. You also have the ability to be the interface of the community. where you are the ambassadors for the plan and help educate the community of why these elements are important. Same with the development tools and policies as well. And then the execution of the plan. If you all have like a 1-year annual report that you all prepare, it would allow you to track all of the changes, see where the progress occurs, how it's getting implemented, and then at the end of the year, you would have a tracked document that says, here are everything that took place, here's the work that was done, this is the allocation of the budget, these are the outcomes of the plan. And then in a 5-year time period, let's say that you were able to accomplish the plan, or accomplish the component that you all were aspiring to get done, then you could check that out of the plan and update the plan at a 5-year time. Generally, comp plans are updated about every 5 years. It's extremely important that the Planning Commission be involved in this. You all have a very important role under the state law with regards to the comprehensive master plan and your development standards. When a developer does come to town that wants to submit a plat, it's coming to you all for review and for approval, a recommendation to the council, a rezoning change. It would be allowing you all to review your plan, see whether it fits or doesn't fit and why, to make recommendations, and you would need to understand the intent that was created that will lead you back to the decision, so that you're not making ill-informed decisions or arbitrary decisions. It's going back to what makes Bandera Bandera, and the plan is written in a way that provides you all that clarity and the intent into it, so it's very easy to use and pick up and to do that.
When the plan is ultimately adopted, we are also going to be providing staff with a set of forms, so that when the developers come in, they have to go to your comp plan. They have to acknowledge its existence. They have to figure out what makes Bandera Bandera. And if they want different, then they have to explain it to you. That's the conversation that you need to have before it goes to council. So when you make recommendations for approval or denial, it needs to be tied back to that comprehensive plan. So we're going to help staff by reformatting the forms, and we're going to force the development community to read the plan and take the journey and explain what they are and aren't doing, because this really is your Bible. As your planning and zoning commissioners, that comp plan is the vision of the community. And our hope is that when you read it, you hear yourselves on the pages. Because we have really listened to you. So that's why the execution of this plan is so important, because that's the conversation you're going to be having. Ideally, nobody should come in and ask for a change of zoning. There's really no reason for it. So if they do, as former staff, my red flags go off. What is it you want that you can't have? Because the community's told you what they want. So if you want something different than this, you're going against the wishes of the community. So the argument is the developers to wage, so that y'all can vet that and go, yeah. Because here's the cautionary tale with no change. In order to stay the same, you must change. You know, we've evolved from the wagon to the horse to the vehicle to the autonomous car. So there could very well be some developers that walk in that do some things that none of us envisioned that would be eclectic nonconformist, and wouldn't that be awesome for Bandera? But we didn't envision it, so they're not in the plan. That they meet the values, they meet the goals and objectives, the intent statements. And that would be one of those things that, you know what, we didn't envision it, but just like Matt said, we need to amend our plan mid-year. We need to incorporate that in it, because that's something we want more of. But the market has evolved to that, man, that's great. So it's not, Moses brought this off the mountain etched in stone. It is a document that really needs to guide the development.
Absolutely. And the other thing that Linda mentioned that we'll get into tomorrow night in depth is the character area. So when someone does come to town, you may be able to say, well, it doesn't fit there, but we've got this great space right here for you. So we created a series of areas that emulate certain patterns, and then wrote development standards around those patterns, so that you can actually direct where different things do fit, rather than just saying, no, you're not welcome here, but yeah, it doesn't necessarily fit here, but it could go here. And so there's a series of tools that we'll introduce tomorrow night, that will help.
And that's really important, because the state law is very clear that there are certain things you can't outlaw. You have to accommodate them, but you don't have to accommodate them everywhere. So that's really important when you begin to understand the character district. There are some things that you're gonna say, well, we don't want those there. They gotta go somewhere, So we found the least offensive place to put them. So those are the things you have to remember. We've accommodated because the law says you have to, but you don't have to accommodate them on every corner, in every neighborhood, in the community.
So we've got several upcoming events. Tonight we're here doing the workshop with you all. Tomorrow we have a special call meeting with City Council where we're going to introduce the plan and the components. This plan is written in a way that you read your development standards one page off of your character district. So when it is like a child's book basically, where you can see what you're supposed to do, the intent, why it's there, what the purpose is, and here are your standards. It is a playbook like that, and through your whole community, and so we're really excited to roll that out tomorrow, and we'll be introducing place types. Your place type is a translation of your zoning districts, and so we will share those with the council, and we have some policy conversations. So we really do encourage you all to watch tomorrow's meeting or be there as well.
If you've ever attempted to buy a house and you go to a builder, they have all of their models and they're in a folder and they're a 4-page spread. That's the mindset that we've worked with the character district, that if this is where you are, in 4 pages, we can tell you everything you need to know about that. So we've worked very hard to make it simple, not complicated, so there's no reason for somebody to tell you, well, gee, I didn't understand it, it didn't say that. There's no scavenger hunt here, people. We're feeding it to you page by page. So.
And not only that, it is we are explaining it through graphics, so your entire document is going to be graphically depicted, and so you can see how everything fits together and the alignment, and then it's written verbally. So it's graphically, verbally. So it makes it really easy. We actually talk about it should be easy enough for an 8-year-old to see themselves in this plan and to understand what it's trying to do and how it fits together and why this is Bandera. So we're really excited to roll that out. September the 2nd is a large event. We need the community to show up. We are asking for everyone to come down and look at the translation of the zoning districts. We're going to reveal the plan. We'll go through each of the elements, how they fit together. We'll talk about all of the character districts. We'll be introducing the entire plan to the community, and it is a feedback. We want feedback. We want input. We need the community there to review the final documents.
Because y'all do give feedback. We do need it.
Yeah, you definitely get feedback. Yes, ma'am.
That is the Wednesday before Labor Day weekend.
Yes, ma'am.
A lot of our people will be involved in plans for that weekend.
Really?
Yeah.
Would it be recommended that we change the?
I don't know,
date? Okay.
but the chamber's doing the parade, the arts and crafts, so people would be possibly involved in putting together scripts, final plans, assignments, so forth, so on. That's why I raised my hand. That was a valid raise my hand, I think.
Absolutely. And we'll get back with the city as well and
Right.
see and pass that along. It's good to know. My TV lost signal.
Uh-oh.
It's not this though.
Can you see Leah? It's up here.
I can.
Oh, we can change seats,
Well,
but
I just,
Turned off the wrong light.
they're on the same remote. This one doesn't want to do anything.
do you have a splitter that splits?
You can just read it.
Yeah, I can just read it to you guys. So the next big thing that would be happening after the September meeting, we'll go back, we make modifications to the plan, update all of the items, we'll have a month to do that. And then October 1st, there are going to be rezoning notifications to every property in town. Every property is getting a rezoning. And
She's being disruptive.
It's important, because at this point in time, if people aren't paying attention, this is where they get told, you need to pay attention.
that's right. And we have carefully evaluated the zoning.
I'm sorry.
Oh, there you
That
go.
one's on.
There you go. So that is an important date to know. That's when your phones will probably start ringing, and the council phones. So, and then October the 14th, we'll have a workshop with the Planning Commission to go through the comprehensive master plan. We will have an in-depth conversation where we're going through the plan, the zoning codes, the subdivision standards, all of it. It's going to be a long.
And you might visit with staff about what time this gets posted, because you do need to eat. And be satisfied when you get here, because it just for us to go through the plan and really do the public hearing justice, you're looking at 2.5 hours.
Absolutely.
You're talking about on the 28th?
The
14th.
14th of October.
Okay.
And we probably ought to have it at the hotel, because I sure hope people come.
Right. We would imagine that being hopefully a turnout. And hopefully it's a turnout to support it, and we really are, we need people to participate on this second for sure, so that we can get to that. So October 14th, we'll have a big workshop here with you all, and the public hearing. Then October the 28th will be the public hearing with the Planning Commission to make the recommendation to the City Council. So there's two conversations where you all see all of the information, give us feedback, any changes, we go back, make those modifications, bring them back. Hopefully it would be done at that time.
Between October 14th and October 28th, if at the 14th workshop, that's the opportunity for the community to hear it full tilt. It's very possible, it's not very possible, it will happen, that there will hopefully just be a handful of people that will have an issue, maybe not that they're unhappy with it, but they'd like something different. Well, now's the time to do that. And so there is 2 weeks between the public hearing that we have a conversation with you about and when you make a recommendation for staff and the consultant team to work with the individuals in the community, so that we can hear the concerns. And in some instances, they're not going to get what they want, but they'll understand why, and maybe there's a process they could do different. I will tell you, having gone through this now 4 times, we learn a lot in those 2 weeks. We can't think of everything, and because you are eclectic nonconformists, I guarantee we haven't thought about everything. So somebody will walk through the door and go, oh, well, what about us? And we're going to go, we didn't know about you. So what are we going to do? So just know that it's making sausage. Those 2 weeks, it could, your phone could blow up because somebody's not real happy. We're not going to ignore them. We're going to figure out how, if possible, to bring you a solution that then you can either say, yeah, we like it, or no, we don't. And if you do like it, you can offer it to council in your recommendation. We work real hard to not cut planning and zoning out of the process and just take the solutions to council. Sometimes, again, we're not telling you anything you don't know. People tune in at different times. Never mind, we've had 16 meetings. They just, woke up today. So whenever somebody wakes up, we'll deal with their issue. May not can make them happy, but they'll be heard.
So after that, 28th, we will have November the 2nd goes to the first reading of the ordinance at City Council. So that will be another opportunity for the community to come have a voice and see the presentation. And then you would have the final public hearing and adoption on November the 16th. And we celebrate, and we have a party, and we bring out, strike up the band, and we celebrate this opportunity. This is a celebratory thing you all are going for. This can help shape Bandera for the next 100 years in the proper way that Bandera was created.
And there are pool bits in the community that don't think that council will adopt the codes, because we hear it, so. It'll be something to celebrate when it happens.
Let's get out the grid.
There you
I'll
go.
put my dime down.
So, we anticipate that public hearings will go smoothly. We hope that everything is smooth. We ask you all, what is the likelihood that something like this happens?
Oh, I can
if
name
we
you
were-
somebody off the top of my head.
That'll happen November 17th, though.
There you go.
What are you talking about? We have a comprehensive plan?
Yeah, like the
Okay.
skate park, we were at the ribbon cutting when all of a sudden the woman that caused all the issues was like, when did this happen? So, yeah, and then the lawsuits began.
All right. Well, hopefully we get everyone on board. They can see themselves in the plan. They like what they see, and this is well avoided. Again, September the 2nd right now is the
The best
community
time, I
roundup.
think.
It'll be at the Best Western Hotel from 5:30 to 7:30. We invite everyone out to see the renderings, study the maps. We'll have a team of people at each of the boards to talk through. We'll make changes, map out people's property, understand where the character districts. We'll explain every single component, and we'll be walked through so that they can step by step see everything, how these tools work, and get to see their lot, see what the zoning is. Just because the zoning change is happening, it's a translation. All it is a translation. We're getting your zoning district from one terminology to another terminology. And that's what's triggering the rezoning. It's not that there is a house there and it's no longer going to be allowed to be a house. We didn't do any of that. We coded back in what you had. We legalized studying every single parcel back into what it should fit into. And so if anything, people got higher entitlements,
There
not
shouldn't
less.
be any controversy, but we're not confused. We're
Remember, we're eccentric, not conformist.
And we're not
Yes.
confused.
And we're not
So
confused,
It
but-
shouldn't be the case, but we're prepared.
That's absolutely right. And so we're very excited to be here. Tomorrow will be a very large night. We really do encourage you all to watch or attend, and that will be the revealing of all of the hard work that's been going on. So.
Do y'all have any questions for us? Because we really wanted to spend some time. We have not visited with y'all individually in your capacity as commissioners, but you have a really important role. And we want you to feel comfortable in that role and own your responsibility differently, because it will pain us greatly if these are put on the shelf and not used.
So I plan on using the crud out of this.
Walk into City Hall and say, here it is, folks. But what I would say, you said we will get this to read and study prior to.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Our goal is, we can't finalize it. We are about 85% there.
Okay.
But we have to get policy direction from council. We hope that we are way closer than 85%, but we thought we were close, and remember a meeting where y'all were emphatically, oh, hell no, y'all didn't get it. Y'all go back, try again. So we are mentally prepared for that to happen tomorrow night, although we're making a compelling case that we have heard you and we're listening. So once we get all of those worked out so that we can deliver what we've heard, which is protecting your natural settings and keeping Bandera, then we will deliver. We have a target of next Friday, and that's assuming there's not much tweaking, but if we have to go back and do some things, we'll have to adjust that. And we will turn that over to the city and the city attorney, and then we will meet with him. There's always a challenge with a city attorney in every city I've ever been in. Their goal is strictly to advise on the legality, but they sometimes forget that and like to be planners. So we're fully prepared to have to educate the city attorney here that his role is as an attorney, not as a planner. But we'll work through all of that, and there may be some tweaking, but we are confident we're on a schedule we can deliver to you.
Awesome.
I mean, my concern would be that obviously we come up with some other members for the Planning and Zoning Commission.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Oh, Linda knows I am the mouth. I will say it.
It's very important. One of the things I appreciate, and Bandera is not the exception. A lot of planning and zoning commissions are reactionary. You don't meet unless there is a case. We're going to challenge that and ask that a calendar be set for the year, and that there be a couple of times a year where y'all come together and you focus on long-range planning. That is what the comprehensive plan is about. Anytime a developer walks through the door, it's short-range today planning. But you can't do that in a vacuum. You've got to stay true to your comprehensive plan. So when I was a city manager, we had joint workshops with council and P&Z twice a year. And we brought out the comp plan, and we talked about the kind of the development was going on. What were the concerns in the community? We keep tripping over this. We need to fix this, and council would then direct P&Z to go off and work on that. So I think even though y'all aren't reviewing cases, that comp plan, that long-term vision doesn't turn off whether somebody's developing this town or not. And that's something you really should be committed to, and I appreciate you read it, use it, I love that, it makes my heart sing. Every commissioner needs to read it, use it, it ought to be a part of the economic development strategy. I mean, it is what this community has said they want, and frankly, it's powerful, it's working for you,
We
keep
worked
doing it.
really hard to include low-tech, low-cost projects in there that you all can go and get done. Wayfinding signs that you work with a high school that are made out of boards that are strategically located so that it leads people to parking lots, to key activities. There's elements in there that are bite-sized pieces that are intended to build out ownership of the plan, that people see the plan coming to life, that it's not something stagnant.
The other thing that I would say to you, we acknowledge on really the first page that this community has some huge challenges with your wastewater, your water, and your drainage. The city is a non-player. To be able to fix those things is going to take everything they've got, all the debt capacity, and then some. So your city is focused on the right things. And then given the staff capacity, that's all they can do. So we were aware of that, so we appreciate that you have a strong volunteer community, that y'all get out and you make things happen. So we tried to fix this so you can lay open and say, I own that property, I can do that. Okay, now you know what to go do. So everybody can participate, and that's what Matt is talking about, you being an ambassador. When somebody says, boy, I sure would like to do it, well, what's stopping you? If it's in the plan, you own the property, get busy. And if enough property owners will begin to do those things over 5-10 years, you'll have a San Marcos. And we are very, very focused on, we're not asking you to change. We're asking you to leverage what you're doing as wonderfully as you can. Because you can't stay stagnant. You've got to maintain your fiscal sustainability. And it's interesting, y'all have been attracting tourists back to the cattle drive days.
Oh, yes.
Think about all the tourists that used to come through driving cattle. And so that really has been your calling for years. And so we've been mindful of that so that the individual can be empowered to bring this vision to life. Not wait on your government, because your government's doing the things that they need to do for you. And that's making sure your toilet's flush, and when you turn on the tap, there's water there. So that is going to consume the city here. We hope that the county comes to the table and leverages their resources, because they've got investment in the old jail and the community buildings that they've bought. They could be some catalyst projects. And so the community can get behind that and perhaps change the dynamic at the courthouse. So those things come to life. But as he said, we've been mindful of bite-sized pieces. We've not written you a hymnal. We've not told you everything that's wrong. We've tried to help you focus on what is likely to happen in the next 5 to 10 years, because we want this plan to come to life.
And we worked very hard to not over-program Bandera also.
Yes.
We had conversations internally. We toured Bernie to say, we don't want to be Bernie. What is it? We looked at the setbacks, the building lines, the population, the culture, everything, and we figured out how to not integrate that into this plan. We really did. We had to loosen up some standards that I typically would have probably coded that would have maybe led to Bernie. I had to go walk that to understand what those standards were, to unpack Bernie so that I can understand not to do that here. We were very mindful to appropriately allocate everything back to Bandera to not over-program it.
And your to-do list is going to have only 5 things. We have struggled over that. Oh my God, have we struggled over that? Because we're list makers, everything that's broke, let's just, no. So we have really tried to focus the energy on what are the 5-7 things that would make a tremendous difference in this community. And if y'all do that for a community that doesn't want to change and has limited growth, that's a victory. That's a victory.
Awesome.
Thank you all for your time. We are
Thank
very
you.
happy for what you all do is a thankless and valuable job. So
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Well, thank y'all.
Thank you. I'm anxious to see tomorrow night's presentation.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yep.
All right.
I'll make sure I'm fed.
Well, thank y'all for coming this evening.
Thank you.
Thank
Sorry I
you.
was late.
We all got here within 2 or 3
The
minutes
important
after
thing is we
5:30.
had a quorum.
Yes, yes.
Wow. So where's Jason? I'm being serious.
We don't know.
He doesn't answer anyone?
I don't have his number.
Well, I don't know his number
Do y'all
either.
want a motion to adjourn?
Oh.
No, it's a workshop.
Madam President.
You called the meeting to order.
Oh, I can't make the motion.
I make a motion that we adjourn this workshop.
I'll second it.
Discussion, all in favor?
Faith.
Workshop adjourned at 6:40.